Today, I'm bringing you my top 5 running backs that you need in fantasy football this year. These are guys that I can't stop drafting. These are guys that I love for their value. I believe in their upside and so much more. Comment down below. Let me know what are your top 5 running backs that you can't stop drafting in your leagues this year. And as always, go to flockfantasy.com/land to support what Zach and I are doing here on Fantasyland. You get our rankings, our articles, and bonus content. As always, you get 30% off at sign up and so much more. So once again, flockfantasy.com/land, get 30% off at sign up, and let's get straight to the video. Okay, so my first running back that you need to draft in every single one of your leagues, in my opinion, that is getting extremely disrespected right now, that is Derrick Henry. He's RB8 on Underdog right now. He is my RB3. And a lot of people are skeptical, saying, well, the running back dip is coming, 29 years old. They don't really see the upside anymore. What's really going to be happening? I understand he's older, but he's a guy that I'm going to continue to draft until the wheels fall off, kind of like we're doing with the CMCs, kind of like we're doing with all these other top tier running backs until they fall off. We did it with the Le'Veon Bells. We did it with the Todd Gurley. I said, you know what? Once they fall off, we're done. And that's the exact same thing I am doing here with Derrick Henry. Let me remind you what he did this past year. Phenomenal season. Finished RB4 over 390 attempts. 349 attempts on the ground, over 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns on the ground. And one of the things I really wanted to hit on as I bring my take, that we saw a career high of 33 receptions out of 41 targets this past year, the highest that we've seen for Derrick Henry since he's been in the league this past year. And I truly believe that can continue. Yes, they bring in Tajay Spears, who can definitely help him in the passing game, but Derrick Henry, no doubt, is going to be continuing to be getting the attempts that he's been averaging on the ground this past year. I mean, let's be completely honest. He's been averaging 21 attempts on the ground this past year, and that's going to continue. You're going to see him averaging the 25, 26 mark area, and him, as winter gets closer and closer and closer, his value, and he just gets better and better and better. And yes, the offensive line does change a little bit, but they do include Peter Skoronski, who they drafted in the first round. Will Levis is here, and now the new addition of DeAndre Hopkins. A lot of people are seeing Derrick Henry's value drop a little bit, but I think this actually rises. Before, I was a little bit more concerned at the time. I was like, well, I'm still riding with the Derrick Henry train, even though I do believe they were going to stack the box with, just in my opinion, Derrick Henry being the true #1 threat on their team. But now you have to think of DeAndre Hopkins. Now you have to think of Treylon Burks, and then Derrick Henry. So you have DeAndre Hopkins, who is getting double teamed already. You have to think about your wide receiver 2 in Treylon Burks, and now you have Derrick Henry. Do they still stack the box? We saw how successful they were when A.J. Brown was on this team, and how successful he was when he wasn't on the team, finishing as the RB4 this past year. I think that's going to continue. There's no doubt in my mind he can be a top 3 running back, and has the ability to finish as the RB1. I mean, if you look at his games, RB3, RB7, RB5, RB3, RB5, RB5, RB7. I mean, it just goes on. The only game that he didn't become a top 15, not even top 15 running back, was in week 13 against the Philadelphia Eagles, where they kind of just took over. One of the best defenses in the league. That was one of his worst games there, and it just gets better. It's going to get better in the offseason. So I truly love Derrick Henry. Once again, on Underdog right now, RB8. You can get him on the low. I think he is one of the 3 running backs that is deserving to go in the first round. You may disagree with that, but I love Derrick Henry coming into this year. Once again, my RB3. So draft Derrick Henry if you can. My second must draft running back that you need coming into the 2023 season, and that is Miles Sanders, going to the Carolina Panthers. Currently an Underdog, he is RB20. He is my RB18 right now. And one of the reasons why I like Miles Sanders, look, I really liked Miles Sanders when he got signed. I thought the opportunity was phenomenal. I think this offense is going to be decent and even better than what it was last year. Potentially, obviously, with the rookie quarterback, it could be a little bit different. But we understand the history with this team. This is a good run history team with Christian McCaffrey. Obviously had one of the best running backs in the NFL for sure. A new offensive coordinator, new head coach, whatever the case may be. But we know the history with the Carolina Panthers and how they can target the running backs in that position. But now Miles Sanders, coming from the Philadelphia Eagles, who targeted the running back position the least, who still had a decent run program for the Carolina Panthers, who still has a decent offensive line with Ike Ekwonu going into a whole nother year. Bryce Young needing to lean on his running back, a little bit more as a rookie quarterback. You know, they're going to run the ball maybe a little bit more. They're going to target him doing more dump off passes, more screen plays, whatever the case may be with Bryce Young. And look, the last time Miles Sanders was actually with his old running back coach and Deuce Staley, who was in Philly his first year when he was a rookie in 2019. That year, he caught 50 receptions and he was targeted 63 times in the backfield. That was the rookie year Miles Sanders finished as an RB15. We were really excited about Miles. We were saying sky's the limit for Miles Sanders. He should be taking him in the early third round in redraft leagues, whatever the case may be, because Miles Sanders was going to have a breakout year. Then that didn't happen because they didn't target him at nearly as much as we thought they would. And then this offense continued to change and mold into an offense that, you know, targeted the running back position the least in the NFL. One of the teams that targeted the running back position in the least in the NFL in 2023. So not only is Miles Sanders going to a whole new offense, he's going back with his old running back coach, who is easily going to be getting him to work, utilizing him in the right way, and playing with a rookie quarterback that's going to be leaning and utilizing him as a safety blanket in the middle of the field, in the backfield, and in so many different scenarios. So once again, currently right now, an underdog RB20, my RB18 in my rankings. You should be going out and drafting Miles Sanders. My third running back that you should be drafting this year, it's a rookie. Maybe a little bit surprising, maybe not. That is Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm really excited about Jahmyr Gibbs coming into this year. He's RB13 in the community rankings, and he's my RB13 as well. And let's keep this one short and simple. Jahmyr Gibbs stepping into a phenomenal opportunity with the Detroit Lions. He is going to be the third down pass catching running back. He is a guy that even the Detroit Lions have said that they're going to be utilizing him as a wide receiver out wide, lining him outside coming into this year. And we've seen the history with Jahmyr Gibbs, you know, in Alabama in 2022, 44 receptions, over 440 yards in the air, averaging 10.1 yards per catch. Even in Georgia, right, in 2021, 35 receptions, over 460 yards, 13.3 yards per catch. I mean, he is going to get the opportunity in the air. Okay, this is a breakout opportunity for Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going into a team that is going to be struggling at the wide receiver position, specifically in the first half of the season, with Jameson Williams missing the first 6 weeks. So they're going to have to get a little bit creative in the air. And we saw what DeAndre Swift has done when he was healthy. One of the most targeted running backs in the NFL, has produced the majority of his workload in the air and his fantasy relevancy in the air with this offense. And I think that's going to continue for Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs, and no doubt in my mind, can easily join Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, as, you know, breaking 50 plus receptions in his rookie year. He is a guy I can easily see finishing as a top 10 running back, kind of like what we saw with Breece Hall last year before he got injured. He was on pace to be a top 10 guy, kind of like what we saw with Saquon Barkley and CMC, and the list goes on. He is a dual threat guy. Not only is he going to get work in the air, but he's going to get attempts on the ground for sure. I mean, it may not be the attempts that we all want and the workload we all wanted specifically on the ground with Dave Montgomery being there, but maybe it's a 60-40 workload on the ground and 100% workload on the air for Jahmyr Gibbs, which I believe sky is the limit for him. So I'll be drafting Jahmyr Gibbs every single time if I can. My fourth running back that you should be going out and targeting in your draft set, I believe the ADP is a little bit confusing because I haven't seen that really reflected on Underdog or even in our redraft leagues, and that he is RB3 in the community right now. He is my RB5 in my rankings. So I'm a little bit confused, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's changed in the past, 12 hours since I kind of prepped for this video. But one of the things I really wanted to bring to you is that Nick Chubb, I truly believe, is a guy that you should be going out and drafting. He's a guy I believe that this offense is going to get better with Deshaun Watson, who has been a top 5 quarterback in the fantasy relevancy for, you know, his rookie year. Outside of his rookie year and this past year, he's always been a top 5 guy. He's always produced, you know, relevant wide receivers, running back, tight ends, and so much more in the past. I think Nick Chubb is going to pick off right where he left off. Okay, let me remind you, this past year, Nick Chubb finished the RB6, over 300 attempts, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and had his second highest career in receptions and targets with 27 receptions and 37 targets in the air, right? Catching 73% of that in the air. I think Nick Chubb, no doubt in my mind, can easily either match that or surpass that than what he did in his sophomore year, where he caught 36 receptions out of 49 targets. I think he can easily break that coming into this year, especially with Deshaun Watson knowing how to target and utilizing his running backs to his best ability. Now, Kareem Hunt is no longer on this team. Kareem Hunt is gone, and we're going to be seeing a lot of target opportunities going to Nick Chubb. As much as I love Jerome Ford and believe he could step up, because I think there is a narrative there for sure, but Kareem Hunt is no longer there, and they will lean on Nick Chubb if, you know, Jerome Ford doesn't step up the way I hope and expect him to. But when we really look at the splits, when Kareem Hunt was in the game, you know, Nick Chubb was only averaging 1.95 targets per game. But when he was out of the game, he was averaging a full target more, and that was in the 4-year span that Kareem Hunt was there. That's a significant target per game. One per game really changes things when you really think about it in the fantasy world perspective. But look, Nick Chubb has always been a top 5, top 6 type of running back. You know, 2019 RB7, 2020 RB9, 2021 RB11, 2022 RB5. He's been averaging around the RB5 range, RB8 range, and I think he is easily a top 5, top 8 running back coming into this year, especially with Deshaun Watson. More goal line work, more opportunities for Nick Chubb, especially with this offense getting better. So I'm really excited about Nick Chubb coming into this year. Once again, RB3 on Underdog, which I don't think is reflected correctly, but he is my RB5 coming in to the 2023 season. My last running back on this list that I truly believe you should be drafting in your redraft or Underdog leagues, and this may be a little bit controversial, and I bought him in another video of late round upside type of guys, and that is Alvin Kamara, currently RB30. Last time I did this video, he was RB32. He's still my RB32. So he's RB30 in the community, my RB32 right now in my rankings. And I think people are starting to see what maybe I'm seeing, as it honestly only risen two spots in the past week. But maybe once we get that suspension, a lot more people will feel a lot more comfortable. I have seen rumors on Twitter, I have seen rumors in the fantasy community, and obviously all rumors, that it can be just a 2-game suspension. Hypothetically, if it's a 2-game suspension, and ask yourself this question, would you draft Alvin Kamara? I think the majority of the people would say yes, because I don't think anyone else, in my opinion, is worried about Jamal Williams or Kendre Miller if Alvin Kamara is suspended for only 2 games. Now, it's a different conversation if we're talking about 4 games or 6 games. Yes, he may not be as high in the community right now, or maybe even in my rankings, but I am doing this in the expectation and hopes, you got to take some risk when you're doing high upside plays, that he is going to get suspended for 2 games, maybe even 3 games, whatever the case may be. But if it's less than 4 games, Alvin Kamara easily can return his ADP at the moment as RB30 in the community, in my RB32 easily. So once again, he's been, and I bought this in my other take, he has been a top 5 running back. He has been top 5 running backs in the past couple of years since he's been in the league in targets. He has been utilized on the ground and in the air, and he's going to continue to be utilized. Now, if he's suspended for the 6 games, Kendre Miller, Jamal Williams are going to have some sort of rhythm, then we have to have a different conversation. But suspended for 2 games, Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller doesn't really affect me. And we know how much Derek Carr, we have seen it in the past where he can check down the ball. Alvin Kamara can be utilized as a wide receiver. and he has been a great fantasy relevant running back in history's past. This was one of his worst seasons, obviously, because he was injured for I think 2 to 4 games, and then also the utilization was a bit off with Dennis Allen and Alvin Kamara. I think that change is coming into this year. We all have to wait for the suspension, but honestly, guys, these are my top 5 running backs: Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Sanders, Derrick Henry. Comment down below, let me know which running backs are your top 5 must draft running backs coming into this year. And as always, it's all love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh,
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.